In today's video, I want to show off the Petrochem dam. My reasoning for doing this is that there's quite a lot of speculation surrounding this area, particularly to do with the Petrochem dam being some kind of alternate ending to Cyberpunk 2077 in pre-release versions of the game. We know that corporations are massively undercooked in 2077. We only really interact with them on a pretty generic basis, and you can't side with them, you can't really have any exclusive missions to do with them. Petrochem is no exception because a lot of their areas in Night City are completely undercooked and just downright pointless. Petrochem's dam is absolutely one of them, and I'm going to be showing you what this place looks like outside of the barriers that have been imposed on us to stop us from exploring. The first thing which I want to look at is actually beyond the dam itself, which is this gigantic trash pile which usually throws up this, turn back, there's nothing out for you kind of error. This area has always struck me as being quite weird because it's a gigantic area. Like, this entire place from the dam entrance to the dam rear is just completely outside of the playable area for no real reason. I mean, look at the fucking size of this place. It's absolutely huge. What I will say though is that down here there is really not a lot going on. We just have all of these procedurally generated piles of shit, which are really interesting to look at, I think, from a technical standpoint. The trash pile is something which people have commented quite a lot, saying for me to explore it, to check it out, to see if there's anything here, because even though you can get to like a few of these locations, like this little scrapyard over here, the actual bulk of this area is locked behind an invisible barrier. But again, we're met with a very similar situation, just like big gigantic piles of shit, and inside this crashed AV there of course isn't really anything on the go. I do generally feel like though that this area is incredibly undercooked. Like, if you were to look at this from above, this takes up a great portion of Night City's map. I mean, quite literally all the way over this side to all the way over here. It seems bizarre that this area is pretty much unused. I'm sure it ties into the lore and the tabletop and all that stuff, but for an actual game, it's a bit strange to have this little to do in such a large area. One thing which I do want to show you is around the other entrance of the dam right about here. There is actually a fast travel point all the way over here, which is called, Northern Badlands Dam, which makes me think that the dam was supposed to have maybe a little bit more significance in game. We have a lot of these buildings which kind of tantalize us, which make us feel like there's something going on, but unfortunately there's actually nothing inside of these places. One of the things which really interested me was this little layer down here. Like, for example, this area is locked off with barbed wire and I suppose a little gate, but like there's all of these weird little gameplay parts all the way down here that don't have any kind of use. Like, there's no gameplay attached to these areas, and the way that it's laid out almost makes me feel like it was intended for a mission. Quite linear structure with little props here and there and a little bit of cover, but I would say more importantly these taped off lifts with like a little bit of blood underneath them. At the very least it seems like an NCPD scanner side hustle, whatever should be here, but there's actually nothing inside of these lift shafts, which is a little bit disappointing. And even if you were to go to the top as well, they are indeed taped off, so it's not like there's evidence that something was supposed to be here. But again, to really emphasize a point, this is basically teasing the edge of the map, and we have all of these weird structures that to me look like they should have been playable, or they were kind of laid out for some sort of grand finale, which I suppose ties with the idea that this was maybe a cut ending to 2077. And of course right over here we have a blocked off road, which some people have speculated was supposed to be planned. And I suppose if you look at the map of 2077, you can see that this is the dam all the way through here, and then all of a sudden this road does just suddenly stop. What's interesting is that it pretty much ties up with this road, right about here. So it does make me wonder if this entire place was supposed to be its own little sector. You know, this road would be complete, basically making a circle. So in the middle here, there should in theory be a little bit of gameplay going on, but there's fucking nothing. If you're wondering as well what's behind these rocks, well, the road does continue for a little bit, but then it ultimately ends quite abruptly. And there's no real evidence to suggest that this road should have continued. But eventually it does just lead out to the Badlands, and maybe it's to do with this kind of rocky ridge area. I don't know, it does kind of add up a little bit, but this is all just blind speculation. And of course there's this building as well, which again, a lot of people have asked me to come and have a look at. I've checked this place out before, and it always baffles me because 2077 doesn't really utilize the idea of buildings outside of the map. Like, it's quite rare that you see a gigantic structure which is outside of the playable area, and this place is pretty huge. There's even like pretty detailed facades to the front of it with like props with working collision, and there's some weird little rock placements around here. But generally speaking, I always get the impression that this place was supposed to be a part of the map, and again, I don't know what for. If you want to think about the cut Petrochem ending as kind of batshit crazy as that is, maybe this was somehow tied to it. Maybe this was some kind of power source, because you can see that all the antennas basically come from this one area. So I don't know, maybe the player would have to come here, disable some of the power, somehow gets involved with the dam. I don't know, it's just fucking blind speculation. But this building itself doesn't really have anything inside of it, and it's a bit weird, to me at least, that this gigantic building is very much here, but you can't touch it. And look, I get it's on the edge of the map, it's probably there for well building or what have you. 2077 doesn't really tend to use this, so I wonder why this specific point was chosen. There's even little weird bits to the dam as well, like this shoreline, which you can actually get down to because there's a ladder taking you here. Again, there's like no real point of being here, and I suppose you can argue that it's just a part of creating a map which feels believable and livable. I don't know. It just seems a bit bizarre to me that all of this is here for no real reason. So that is the Petrochem Dam in 2077. I personally think that this area is massively undercooked, and I do strongly believe that this was tied to some other plans with 2077 that didn't quite come to fruition. But guys, as always, that is just my 2 cents. I want to know what you guys think on the matter. Please do let me know in the comment section of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will catch you lot in a bit.